Let's take a look at action listeners. In the last video of this Java GUI series, we talked about layout managers. Therefore, it does make sense to make sure that we understand action listeners. Action listeners are interfaces in Java's AWT and Swing libraries that allow you to handle events triggered by user interactions with GUI components. When an event occurs, the registered action listeners method is invoked. This method contains the code to respond to the specific user action. We'll examine 4 types of event listeners in this video in just a moment. Those will be the mouse event, key event, focus event, and item event. Let's start with the mouse event. The mouse listener interface handles mouse-related actions, like pressing, releasing, clicking, entering, and exiting a component. It has 5 methods, which are mouse clicked, mouse pressed, mouse released, mouse entered, and mouse exited. It can be placed on the components that you place on your GUI. Okay, enough talking. Let's quickly build an example code for that. Okay, what we are starting here with is the main method. The first thing that we want to create is a new class, mouse event example. And in this class, we create ourselves a new method, public void run, in which we will place all our functionality. So let's start by creating ourselves a JFrame, in which we set the title mouse event example. Then we set the default close operation to exit on close. After that, we set the size to 400 by 300. And to fill this empty frame, let's create a new JPanel and add a new mouse listener using the method addMouseListener. Within here, we override the mouse clicked event, in which we place a new printf method, which prints mouse clicked at x and y. And the second 2 parameters are the x and y values. We also override the mouse pressed event, in which we also place a printf method, which prints the text mouse pressed at x, y, and the next 2 values are x and y values. We also override the mouse released event, in which we also place a printf method, printing mouse released at x, y, including the x, y values. And we also override the mouse entered event, in which we also place a printf method to print mouse entered at x, y, including the x and y values. What we also do here is set the panel background color to light gray. Now let's also override the mouse exited event and also place a printf method in it, printing mouse exited at x, y, and include the x and y values. After having done so, we set the background color of the panel to null. Now we go back to the run method and add the panel that we just defined to the frame. Right after that, we set the frame to visible. Okay, now let's go back to the main method and add the mouse event example class that we just created and name it example1, and then let's run the run method. Now let's run the application. And here we can see the window mouse event example with the panel inside that we just created. If we use the mouse and enter this area, we can see in the terminal output that the mouse entered event was triggered. If we exit and enter the mouse again, we will trigger the different events. Now let's take a closer look at the key event. The key listener interface deals with keyboard input. It has the 3 methods key pressed, key released, and key typed. The listener is typically used with components like JTextField or JTextArea to respond to individual key presses or releases. Let's build an example code for that. Now we are back to the main method. Let's start by creating a new class, keyEventExample, in which we also place a run method. Let's again start by creating a new frame, but this time we name it keyEventExample. Then we set the default close operation to exit on close, and then we set the size to 400 by 300. Now let's also set the layout to a new border layout, followed by creating ourselves a new JTextArea. Let's add a new key listener to the text area using addKeyListener, and in here override the keyType method and place a printf method, which prints key typed and then the character. Let's also override the keyPressed method and place a printf method in here, printing keyPressed and then the character. Let's also override the keyReleased method and also add a printf method, printing keyReleased and then the key. Let's also add another printf method, printing the entire text of the text area. Okay, now let's go back to the run method and add the text area to a new JScroll pane. Those are the little lines at the right that you can pull to move the window. And let's define that we add this at the border layout center position. Let's also define that we request focus in the window for the text area. And then let's not forget the frame set visible method. And then let's go back to the main method to add the key event example class and name it example2, and then make a call for the run method. Now let's run the application. And here we can see the new window that we just created, which is named key event example. What we can see in here is a full-size text area. Now, if we type A, we essentially execute a couple of events, which is the key pressed, the key typed, and the key released event. If we press another key, let's say B, we again can see the different events that were triggered. And the same thing if we continue to type letters. Okay, we are now ready to check out the next type of event, which is the focus event. The focused listener interface is used to detect when a component gains or loses keyboard focus. It has two methods, focus gained and focus lost. This is useful for providing visual cues or performing actions when a user navigates between components using keyboard or mouse. Let's create ourselves an example code. We are back in the main method. And the first thing that we want to do is create a new class, focus event example. In here we also want to create a new run method. And then we start with creating a new frame, which we call focus event example. Then we set the default closure operation to exit on close and the size to 400 by 300. Then we create a new panel, PNL main, and set the layout to box layout along a y-axis. Then we create another panel for first name, which we call PNL first name, in which we also set a box layout, this time though along the x-axis. Then we create a label, LBL first name, which we name first name. And then we create a JText field, TXT first name, with a width of 15 columns. Then we add the label first name to the panel first name, and also the text first name to the panel first name. After having done so, we add the panel first name to the panel main. Now let's do the same thing for the last name, adding a label and a JText field for it. After that, we create a new label, LBL focus status, in which we place the text, no focus event yet. And then we add this label to the panel main. Now let's start with focus listeners. Let's add a new focus listener using the add focus listener method to the text first name. In here we override the method focused gained. And in here we set the text of the label focus status to first name gained focus, and we set the background color of the text first name to another color. Then we override the focus lost method and set the text to the label focus status to first name lost focus, and then we set the background color back to the standard color. Now let's go out of here and add a new focus listener to the text last name, essentially also overriding the focused gain method to set the text to the label focus status, and also set the color, and then also override the focus lost method to also set the text of label focus status, and also set the color. Now let's get out of here and add the panel main to the frame, and set the frame to visible true. Now let's go back to the main method and add the focused event example class, and name it example3, and run its run method. Now let's run the application. And here we can see our new window, focus event example, having two fields and two labels. Now, if we set focus in the first name text field, we can see that it gets a yellowish color, which is the color that we set in the event. We also can see the label at the very bottom saying first name gained focus. If we do exactly the same thing by setting focus to the second text field, we can see that the other text field is white again, while the lower text field is now yellow, and the bottom label says last name gained focus. Very good. We are now ready to cover the item event. The item listener interface is specific to components that allow items to be selected or deselected, such as JCheckbox, JRadioButton, and JComboBox. It has one method, which is item state changed. Let's create an example code. We are back to the main method for a fourth round. Let's start by creating a new class, item event example, and also add a run method. Let's start by creating a new frame, item event example, and also set the default close operation to exit on close, and the size to 400 to 300. Now let's create a new main panel, and set the layout of box layout along the y-axis. Now we create a new JCheckbox, which we name Java, another one that we name Python. Then we create a new JRadioButton, which we name male, and another one that we name female. After that, we create a new button group, in which we add the two radio buttons. What we now want to create is a new label selection, in which we place the text no selection yet. And then we start with the action stuff by creating a new item listener in which we override the item state changed method. In here we start by getting the source, which is essentially an object named item selectable. We also want to get the state as an int. After that we create ourselves a new string variable item name set to an empty text and another string variable state text in which we place selected or deselected depending on the state variable, whether it is selected or not selected. Now, if the source variable corresponds to the checkbox Java, we place the string Java into the variable item name. And if it is Python, we place the string Python in the variable instead. If the source variable though corresponds to the radio button male, we place male into the item name. And if it is the radio button female, then we place female into it. And if none of these match, we place unknown. What we now want to do is set the text of the label selection, placing in it the item name that we just set, and then is, and then the state text, which is either selected or deselected. Okay, let's get out of here and add this item listener to the checkbox Java, to the checkbox Python, to the radio button male, and to the radio button female. After that, we add all those components to the panel main. And after having done that, we add the panel main to the frame, which we, last but not least, set visible true. Now let's go back to the main method and add the item event example and name it example4. After having done so, we run the run method. Now let's run the application. And here we can see our new window item event example, in which we see the two checkboxes, the two radio buttons, and the label, which currently says no selection yet. If we select the checkbox Java, the label says Java is selected. If we deselect the Java checkbox, the label says Java is deselected. And the same applies to the Python checkbox as well as to the male and female radio buttons. Alright, to sum up, these 4 examples demonstrate the fundamental concept of Java GUI action listeners. We've explored action listeners by creating an example where we attached a mouse listener to a panel. Then we created a second example where we attached a key listener to a text area. In our third example, we attached a focus listener to different text fields. And in our fourth and last example, we attached item listener to checkboxes and radio buttons. By implementing these interfaces and registering them to components, you can create interactive and responsive graphical user interfaces. If you want to know more about how to create Java GUIs, I have a growing playlist, Java GUI, in which I place the videos that cover this topic. You'll find a link to the playlist in the description of this video. Is the concept of action listeners now clear to you? Was this video helpful to you? Drop a like to this video and also subscribe to this channel, as this is the best way to get notified about videos with contents like this in the future. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Gene. See you in the next video.